What is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome to Collectors Gone Digital. My name is Josh, and on today's episode, we are recapping the interview I did with Ben last week. So just in case you guys didn't have time to watch the full video, today's will be in shorter form. As always, if you guys enjoy the content, make sure to like and subscribe, grab a drink, grab a snack, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Now, the first question I asked Ben was, what is your vision for the VeVe-verse? Keeping in mind this was about 30 minutes after the team had gone live for their demo. Ben talks about how people connect through their love of fandoms, and how VeVe has a large advantage in this area because of the variety of IP they have. And so the VeVe-verse is going to be a new and improved way of doing this, connecting with like-minded individuals, people who are passionate about the same brands. Ben says that his vision for the VeVe-verse is for it to be just as community-driven as it is by VeVe, and I love that answer. Because we've talked about the importance of user-generated content in the past, this man gets it. And of the examples we've brought up before, like Fortnite, Roblox, Minecraft, all three of those tick off that box, where half the platform is content generated by the development team, and then the other half is content created by users using the tools the development team gave them. And all of this is what brings people together, in this case in a virtual environment, or environments, where you can travel between different ones. Now, diving deeper into how they're going to build out the VeVe-verse, I was curious how they're going to cater to different audiences. So we have the explorers and then the builders. Some people are interested in the VeVe-verse just to explore different worlds, the social aspect, being able to connect with other people, like we were just talking about. But then you also have people interested in the VeVe-verse because you can build. And so I asked Ben, how is VeVe going to cater to both sides? He says that they are currently growing their community management and events team, and that yes, they are going to be holding both virtual and in real life events. So events in the VeVe-verse, and then what they've already been doing with events at DCon and Comic-Con. He says that the VeVe-verse is going to be part of their events and communication strategy, but it's also a platform that requires development resources. And so their approach to this is by releasing the VeVe-verse in stages and then gathering feedback to make changes or add features where needed. Now, this isn't anything new, we already know this, but what he was getting at here is that no one really knows what people are going to want in 12, 24, 36 months. No one. This is something that Ben said, and I appreciate that he acknowledged this because we've talked about it in the past. Anybody who talks about timelines and absolutes, like things are going to happen for sure in the next 10 to 12 months, it should be an immediate red flag. Ben said we're going live with version 1 and then gathering feedback immediately to improve the experience. Now, at this point in the interview, I bring up how VeVe has started to separate into different platforms. And I talk about how back in season 1 and 2, things were very simple. You just put your credit card in and buy now. You fast forward to today and you have many moving parts, even for a user to keep up with. We have the collectibles app, we have the comics app, we have the VeVe-verse app that's going to be dropping, we also have the OMI token and Stacker and MCP. And so I asked Ben, what is the reasoning for why VeVe is breaking into so many different parts? This is what he said. VeVe is currently working with their product team to determine where this doesn't make sense. And according to Ben, it will in some cases and it won't in others. Ben says this is a symptom of an ambitious startup business and that there's pros and cons. So a pro is that you can be more specialized. He says the needs of a comic collector is going to be different from the needs of a collectible collector. Some cons, however, is that you have to have some additional resourcing, from product development to team management. You also have to promote the platform separately. So speaking of resources, separate budgets. Ben also says that to focus on this, one of the new roles is going to be a chief customer officer, whose job is to pretty much look at these things from a bird's eye view. Next up, we talked about their ad structure, and this one's an interesting one. I've talked about in the past about how their ads are very basic, traditional static banner ads. I am talking about YouTube specifically, but they're not very attention grabbing in my opinion. And so I asked him, I said, why aren't we seeing, a video pop up when we click on a video, or halfway through when an ad pops up and we have the option to skip it after 3 or 5 seconds? Why aren't we seeing Corey's or MC's face pop up saying, this is a digital comic and I just placed it on the coffee table in my living room. Why aren't we seeing videos of the collectibles in AR, right? Stuff like that. So he said that ads are very data driven, and he's right. Everything is about the numbers in this case, and you work based off what those tell you. He did say they are split testing, which was nice to hear. Split testing is a way of optimizing your campaigns so that you figure out which is the best performing one. So an example, a simple one, let's say your advertising budget's $10,000 and you set up 2 different campaigns. You're gonna put 5 in one, 5 in the other, and there's gonna be some different variable across the 2. So the first ad might be a video, the second ad might have a photo, right? Or you might write the offer a little differently. You set both the campaigns live, and then after a certain period of time, you come back. That's gonna vary depending on the budget you have. And whatever campaign is performing worst, you're gonna cut the budget, and you're gonna take that budget and put it into the campaign that's performing best. And that's just an example with 2 campaigns. So if you have 10 or 15, over time, you're narrowing it down to which ones are the best performing ones, because that's where you want to put the money. And that's why they call it split testing. Is A or B the better option? Now, Ben's answer to my question about why are you guys putting banners up and not videos and other things was that the data points to what's working, and apparently what they're doing is the best option, or one of them. And I kind of scratched my head a little bit when I heard this, because when I was in the car industry, I actually started in the industry at the exact same time a new GM came in to flip the dealership. And this GM had a bit of a presence in the radio space. And I remember walking into the office, I can't remember how I got into the conversation with him, but we ended up talking about how to market the dealership. And he was talking about running different radio ads. And I said, regardless of how many leads you end up bringing in from that campaign, I can almost guarantee that if you put the same budget into more modern methods, digital marketing, for example, you will bring in more. I couldn't help but think about that when he mentioned this. I was thinking to myself, in order to gather the data, you have to run the campaigns, but the only campaign I've ever seen on YouTube is the banner ad. And again, I'm only talking about YouTube here. I know they have ran videos on Facebook and stuff, but I've never once clicked on a YouTube video and at the beginning or halfway through seen a VeVe ad pop up. And so that was the question that came to mind when I heard that was, where were the other campaigns? But I do gotta say, in the nicest way possible, I'm just not convinced that the data is pointing to that being the best method. And if it is, have they tested enough methods? Because, I mean, we're talking about a product that you can augment into reality. To show something like that visually in a video, I feel like it would work better 10 times out of 10 times compared to something like the static banner. I don't have any of the data in front of me. So this is pure speculation. This is just me kind of thinking out loud. I mentioned I'd share my thoughts, and that's just a thought that came to mind in the moment. But Ben does acknowledge another opportunity with the data they've gathered, and that is cross-promoting. So marketing to a user who loves a certain brand, and then using that data to determine other brands that they also like. Now, next up, I brought up the fact that some of their content is unlisted on YouTube. For those who don't know what that means, they weren't set public, meaning you can only access the video if you have the link to the video. But other than that, you can't find it on their YouTube channel. Ben says this is to test organic versus paid content. So using the Venom reveal video as an example here, someone can only access that video by finding the original Medium article. And so the engagement on an unlisted video will give the team an idea of how many people are actually finding them organically, meaning they're searching them manually on something like Google and then clicking on the Medium article. They aren't finding out about the company through some sort of targeted ad. Now, organic content is more likely to reach people who already know about you. And where this really works is when you provide something with true value, that audience is now going to share it. And we're talking about word of mouth, the most effective form of marketing for a business. Paid content will often help you reach new audiences faster. And the reason why is because most platforms are pay to click, meaning if I pay $1,000 for my Facebook ad, I'm going to lose 10 times out of 10 times against the person with a $10,000 budget. The main benefit to paid content, though, is the targeting aspect. It's what Ben was talking about with cross-promotion and retargeting and all that type of stuff. Now, either or, organic or paid content can be an effective way to grow a business. I actually focus on organic myself because organic content nowadays helps a lot with the trust factor, where if a business isn't online and posting consistently or active, then somebody's going to lose trust pretty much immediately in that buying process. And so if a business doesn't have that organic content, it's going to be a lot harder to convert them into a customer. So next up, we talk a little bit about Fortnite, and I really liked his answer to this question because kind of butchered it a little bit with the way I asked it. Ben talks about how he does not see platforms like Fortnite, Roblox, Minecraft, Halo. He doesn't see them as competition. In other words, if someone goes on Fortnite and buys a digital skin, he sees that as a positive thing for VeVe. One uses blockchain tech, the other doesn't, but both platforms offer digital transactions. And so the more of this that goes on, he says is going to normalize it over time, to the point where it doesn't even need explaining. He said his kids bought him a Fortnite skin for Father's Day, and when his kids grow up, stuff like that is going to be completely normal. Now, one thing I've always had trouble wrapping my head around is how VeVe manages all their relationships while developing new ones. And we're talking about hundreds here. So I don't really have much to add here, other than I really appreciate how in-depth Ben went with his answer. He pretty much explained the entire process of onboarding a new partner. So check this out. I ask, how do you ensure that VeVe doesn't onboard a large company, like a Disney, that leaves and ends up influencing the decisions of other businesses to partner in the future? I ask this because we know that when Disney was signed, David mentioned how his phone on his desk would not stop ringing, from people congratulating him, but also from other businesses who wanted to partner. This right here is an example of a Jones effect, but it also happens the other way around. There's something called a negative Jones effect, where if you see a business leave, that may happen with others as well. So Ben says, yes, it's important we embed them into the business to establish a long-lasting and sustainable relationship. It starts with an introduction, and David and Dan's connections in the industry have helped a lot with this. From there, if there's interest, they move into initial discussions, contract negotiations. They're speaking with senior executives, legal, and finance. Once they've actually signed the brand, they brief the teams to make sure that VeVe really understands their IP and their audience. So their creative teams, their marketing teams, their product teams are starting to get involved here. And then when they actually get to the point of creating the collectible, VeVe's production and creative teams are working on concepts with the IP. So what a collectible could look like for a drop, but then also past that, what their full range can look like. And Ben says this process is going to vary depending on the partner. So, a process for a Juggernaut is going to be a lot different than for a comic from 24/7 Comics. Now, once they have the actual collectible created, teams are working to determine what the promotion will actually look like on both VeVe's channels as well as the IPs. Ben says that licensors may also have things going on that are helpful to VeVe. So for example, Marvel dropping a Black Panther collectible for the release of Wakanda Forever. Now, the last main question I asked him here was, how do you do the same thing that you do with licensors, but with the team? Because VeVe is a remote business, and managing a team remotely is a whole different beast. He said in order for people to work remotely, they have to be capable of it first off, because it's not for everyone. You have to be self-motivated, self-disciplined, and accountable. He says that remote work environments are better suited for people who are more experienced or more skilled professionals. In-person roles are better suited for people with less experience who are still learning on the job. He says in order to work remotely, you also have to have the tools. He holds his mic up to the screen. You have to have the right audio, the visuals, the lighting. He says you have to be able to switch into work mode, leaving the dishes, the cleaning, all the other stuff in the house behind, and knowing when to buckle down. A positive to remote work is that you can cast a wider net. You're not restricted by the local labor market. You can go out, you can hire the best people regardless of where they are in the world. A con, however, is that it's harder to build culture. Getting to know one another is more difficult. And what I loved hearing is that Ben said that VeVe should be putting time aside at in real life events for essentially team building, so that team members can get to know one another better or even introduce to people they've never met. Stuff like that is very important, and it answers my question in terms of how they're going to build culture. Ladies and gents, that is going to conclude today's episode. I hope you enjoyed. I got to wrap it up now because I am starting to lose my voice with this one. But as always, guys, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. How did you guys like the interview? And what are some other questions you'd like to see in the future as well? But if you enjoy the content, make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below what you want to see in a future episode, and as for our next, I will catch you then.